Must have been the Ambien. Talking in your sleep again, were you? That's Romantics there. I'm Morning Dave. We're at 8:41 here now. It's 19 before 9, 79 degrees in Sebring. Sunshine high this afternoon. Somewhere up in the mid-90s, and heat index is as high as 110 degrees. Stay cool.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.
And the Legal Beagle means it's time to talk about money and find out what's going on Wall Street and elsewhere today. Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring on the telephone with us. Philip, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Doing well today. I was hoping maybe you could have talked up the stocks a little better yesterday, but it looks like we kind of ended up in a mixed bag. And if people look at Facebook and see my screen at all, they'll see it's kind of bookmarked by green on the ends and reds in the middle.
That's a pretty good way to put it. Yeah, the upset over what could possibly go on and what could possibly go wrong with the Iranian negotiations kind of had us on the testy side. The Dow ended up 148 points yesterday. Well, like you said, the other two major indexes were both down. The S&P was down by almost 28. NASDAQ was down by 351. On the other end of the bookmark, the Russell managed to pull out a gain of about 1.25%. Not a bad day on balance. It looked kind of flat when we opened up, and on balance, I guess you can say, except for the NASDAQ, it was flat. And I'm just kind of betting that NASDAQ got weighed down heavily by our buddies at Micron, didn't it?
Well, I'm sure Micron's really hitting it this morning on the NASDAQ 100. I mean, it's down almost 3% this morning now.
Which on a price-weighted index can't be good because there's 100 stocks in the NASDAQ 100, and it's not as volatile as the Dow, but that would certainly hurt a little, wouldn't it?
It definitely will. It definitely hurts. That's no doubt about it.
Got to make note of the other exciting stocks, and for the first 3 days after the IPO, I was even tracking the price. Haven't mentioned it lately, but SpaceX, now a regularly traded stock on the exchanges. SpaceX was down yesterday 16%, meaning it's down to 156, and I think on the IPO, it opened at like 155, which means all you birds that bought SpaceX at noon on its IPO day, you're already in red ink. I'm playing a real small violin for you speculators.
Yes, it is. Well, it's one of those things that I just said, wait. It wasn't high on my list to go buy. I felt like that this would happen. Nobody knows for sure, right? It could have do the exact opposite. It could have just kept on going. And it may hit a floor and bounce back up, when it hits the IPO price. But at this point, it's continuing to fall. The hype is over. Now it has to actually produce some results. And I think that's where it's going to get a little hairy.
And it needs to be mentioned, too, that basically you and I were both saying, well, how long until it makes the major indexes? During the weekend, while you were out of town, Standard & Poor's said, heck no, we're not going to bend our rules. It's got to be in business for a year, and it has to show a quarter of profitability before we'll put it on the Standard & Poor's 500, which is, and you were mentioning this, that does not have a good effect on a stock, even a high buck one like SpaceX, because if it's not in the indexes, it doesn't end up getting folded into all of the portfolios, the mutual funds, and the ETFs that try to track the Standard & Poor's 500. So that was not necessarily good news for SpaceX, was it?
It was not. It was not one of those things that helped SpaceX. I mean, yeah, it won't help SpaceX if it doesn't get into those indexes. I believe I read somewhere 6 to 8 weeks down the road, I think that it'll end up in the Russell 2000. And so that may help it a little bit.
That I would imagine once it gets folded into some funds where it ends up getting purchased a lot more just as an automatic buy, that'll help it in the process. But right now it's folding for about $1 over where it opened up on its IPO day, and kind of strange. The other thing going on is our questions about Iran down the line. The Strait of Hormuz is supposedly open again now after Vice President Vance had it home, but got some data here showing the Strait of Hormuz is seeing some ships go through, but it's still only about a quarter of the 100 ships per day that was seen normally before we started throwing rocks at Iran. So that, I've got to believe they're worried about the mines, if nothing else, even though it's on paper open. Everybody knows that Iran stuck some mines in the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. So once again, it makes the point that not only are we looking at pumping it, loading it onto the ship, getting to the refineries, we're not pumping as many ships through the strait right now either. So our oil situation and our shortage on supply, it looks like we're talking about months before we start seeing any real relief from that.
It does. And that's what everybody was talking about earlier, is that even once it opens up, it may take 6 months to clear that backlog
Mm-hmm.
at the rate we're going.
And I was going to say the rate with which we're getting boats through there. Somebody said it was kind of interesting, the amount of production that we lost alone, something like 1.2 billion barrels of oil, just because we couldn't get any out and because the boats were all full, we didn't pump it. So our basic supply starts down that much. So the opportunity for the industrialized companies to replenish their strategic reserves, not to mention the consumers, we could be feeling this for more than a year before we actually get back to the point where we have that lovable oil glut that we've periodically bemoaned when prices went way down.
Yeah, like I say, it is going to take some time before we see, those things bounce back. For sure. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Kind of a quiet start to the week in case folks hadn't figured it out because we're ruminating about other stuff. Not a lot going on in terms of government reports. We're going to get some new home sales figures, I understand, tomorrow. The big numbers basically come out Thursday when we get the Federal Reserve's favorite inflation number, the PCE price index. Other than that, we got a relatively quiet day today in terms of information coming out, which kind of leaves us to worry about Iran, worry about the stocks that are out there, and other such elements in our investments. What do you hear about the individual issues out there today?
So if we look at things, IBM got an upgrade to overweight by JP Morgan. As other stocks, technology stocks seem to be falling this morning. It was helping IBM earlier this morning. If I can get it to open up and tell me what it's doing right now, it's trading up almost 4.2% right now. Yeah, so they're getting a little bit of a bump this morning. AMC Entertainment, the theater chain, they had tumbled about 21% earlier this morning. They are in the process of selling 95.3 million shares of their common stock to institutional investors. And so that does have them down 22.5% this morning. Not that they were a high flying stock anyway. I mean, they closed yesterday at $2.76. So, but down is down, right? Not good.
The legend of the box office flu they've got this year can't make this the best time possible to sell to institutional, can it?
No, it can't. Oracle has cut 21,000 jobs. They posted in a regulatory filing that was almost 13% of their workforce. So I found that quite interesting that we are seeing finally some cuts that actually are AI based. And that's one of the things they said here is we've been able to implement some AI processes and we don't need these people anymore. So not good news, really.
Yeah, talking artificial intelligence, a couple of tidbits I dug up this morning. The Goldman Sachs people are saying that their terms, investor assumptions about the AI trade are starting to stretch reality. No kidding. And And the CEO of Microsoft gave an interview earlier last week, and he said that if all the value in artificial intelligence is accrued by only a few models, the political economy will not tolerate it. Basically, he says the government's get involved and screw this whole thing up anyway. After all the money Microsoft has spent on artificial intelligence, he's saying he doesn't see a future in it.
Well, all will be told, and the tale to be told later in the day as we look ahead, right?
Absolutely. Setting the table from yesterday, the blue chips were up, the pure growth stocks and the Russell were up. Everything else was down for the day. 45 minutes before we open this morning, what are we looking at?
Dave, I hate to say it, but I'm seeing a lot of red ink this morning across all sectors, all commodities, indexes. Right now, the Dow's down about 0.5%. The S&P 500 is down almost 1.5%. NASDAQ 100 is down 3%. And the Russell 2000 is down 1.7%. Yeah, not a pretty open this morning. On the other side, we've seen silver now retreat today, 5.2%, down to $62.16 an ounce. Gold down 1.5%. Crude oil down 1/3% to $73.61 a barrel.
Normally, I would expect that kind of monster change to come out of the price of oil going up or some major change there, but it's not really a big change from yesterday. That's interesting. Looking across the ponds, the Asian Rim market down at the 6 a.m. close. A couple of the indexes, and you mentioned this to me before we went on the air, the South Korean market was down almost a full 10% yesterday. Japan lost 3.5%, and the mainland Chinese indexes both down well over a full percent yesterday as well. Over in Europe, they're kind of catching the flu as well. The average European index is down by about 0.8% halfway through the European trading day. None of us are happy worldwide this morning, Philip.
No, we're definitely not. Unfortunately, it's not a pretty day today, and we've maybe we can bounce off these lows and close to the ups today, or we set a low today and bounce off of them tomorrow. We'll see.
Absolutely. A bounce point would be nice. How do I get a hold of you to figure out how to get some stability to my retirement plans? Alpha, today, it sure looks like a lot of us need it.
Yeah, days like today are when you want to have a plan in place, because the plan is what keeps you grounded and you know where you're going to go and you know where your money's coming from month after month. Give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule your 30-minute call, where we'll look to see where you are. If you're heading in the right direction, great. If not, if we can help you turn the ship a little bit, that's what we want to do. Again, 863-382-0037. And then catch the Statler Financial Radio Show this weekend, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. on Sunday morning on News Talk 730 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
And on newstalk730am.com as well. Cross our fingers for a turnaround today, and we'll talk tomorrow morning. Fair enough?
All right, fair enough, buddy. Have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Philip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope your world is going well. Join us again tomorrow. Until then, have a great day. Bye now.